Hi everyone, Angus Campbell here, Wednesday the 13th of September 2023. Right, we're going to crack on with the momentum on the Silver Jubilee here, and as promised, focused on getting the head off, stripping and cleaning it and inspecting it. And should be a fairly straightforward job. I don't know if you're aware, but in the early days of this frame, after BSA had originally designed it, it was fine for the A65s, but they couldn't get the Triumph motors in, so they had to modify it. And I think there was a modification to the rocker boxes, if I'm not mistaken, in the way that they're removed. So anyway, we'll start with removing the rocker boxes, and we've got to undo, as you can see, 4 head bolts to do that anyway, but also the 2 outer bolts and the 3 underneath here. And those of you with a keen eye might spot that some of these bolt heads down here don't necessarily look to be the same size. Same on this side. Yep, I don't think we need to take the rocker covers off. But anyway, let's get on with that. Shouldn't take too long. Biggest concern is, have I got the Allen key size for that? I hope so. If not, it might be another call out to Matt. Right, let's get cracking just undoing these bolts. Yeah, I know you're all screaming at me. It's studs and nuts underneath the rocker boxes here, not bolts, and they were all the same size, so that was good. But there is an alarming thing here, and that is that the head bolts were almost just finger tight. It was 2 fingers on a ring spanner is all I needed to actually loosen all the head bolts. You can see I haven't tried these 2 centre Allens yet, but anyway, we're making good progress. But there's no way this head was torqued down properly. So that might explain why we've been getting oil leaks, Greg. And yeah, I've never taken a 750 to bits before. Can you tell? Anyway, you can see one of the ways they got round the issue of some of the earlier difficulties with taking rocker boxes out of spine frames, and that is that they've used these pillar bolts with then a shorter what appeared to be a head bolt, but really isn't a head bolt. All that does is hold on the rocker box. But when I undid the one on this side, as you can see, it still wasn't very tight, but it actually brought the pillar bolt out with it, and I had to get an implement in there to try and hold this while the rocker cover was still on, to get the top bolt out to release the rocker cover. So now we'll transfer attention to the other side, and there's less room on this side, as you can see. So God, I hope this comes off without having to undo engine mounts and tilt the engine forward. Might have to do a bit of research here, but anyway, let's see how we get on. Right, we're in. Didn't come off too bad at all, really, but then I don't think it was torqued down properly. So all the sort of, what do you call them, pillar bolts? Probably. Came off okay anyway. One came with its stud, but because it was at the front, got more room, you were able to take the stud out through the top of the head. Anyway, composite gasket. First observation, there's a lot of oil all the way around the seal. And on the head itself, lots of oil everywhere. So that it's just not been torqued down properly. Now, one thing I've got to ponder as well and look up, and no doubt people can tell me, is how on earth the rocker boxes drain their oil. I presume it must be down one of the studs on the outer side. I mean, we'll find out once we take the valves out. I presume there's a drain holes in the corner here somewhere. Oh, I suppose, no, don't be daft, I go down the pushrod tube. Idiot. Yeah, so down the pushrod tube. So that begs the question then, why is all this oil here on the face? Looking at the valves, it doesn't look as though it's been burning too bad, nice light brown. But yeah, now it's just twigged down, the pushrod tubes are draining. What the hell is all this? Rocker boxes are fairly clean. Superficially the faces look fine, so I think they'll clean it well. Obviously we're going to give all this lot a good bath next and ultrasonic clean, but we'll remove the valves and springs first. Only big misdemeanor, and look at that lot. I think they might have had trouble sealing, but again, that wouldn't cause oil to be deposited or to be so prevalent on the head gasket faces. Same with the other side. Push rods are good. First thing is they're all the same, and secondly they're not bent, so that's good too. So bit of a mixed message really. Hopefully, you think, well, if it's not torqued down, oil's getting there, but where's the oil coming from? Hopefully it's not from the bores. But the other thing I've noticed too, in fact, let's go around this side. Is there's deposits on the piston, and you just have to feel it and it flakes off. See what I mean? Well, bores appear to be smooth. We'll do obviously a better inspection. Appear to be smooth and no ridge. Okay. Right. So anyway, that's the head off. So we're in the evening at the moment, so tomorrow morning we'll load up the ultrasonic cleaner with detergent. We'll get the valves removed and we'll get this lot in, and it's got a matey to go with it. You might have seen that in the community tab, MC522. We've identified that, so we're just doing a bit more investigation now to see if we can find some drawings. Right, anyway, that's by the way. Right, back in the morning and we'll crack on. Next morning, got the ultrasonic cleaner on. Nice fresh fluid in it. It's a 30-litre one, this, so it does take quite a while to warm up. And sometimes as well, it's best to put the ultrasonic side on for a few minutes or so every so often, just to swirl the fluid round inside, otherwise it gives a false temperature reading. But anyway, it's got a way to go, so that'll take an hour or so to warm up, but that doesn't matter because we've got some work to do anyway. So first things first, got the old G-clamp out, so, or valve spring compressor. We'll take the valves out, we'll get all these remnants of gaskets off, plugs out, and then on the rocker boxes, I don't intend to take the spindles and the rockers out. I'll just take the covers off, and we'll put all that lot into to cook shortly. But let's just finish stripping these off and checking the valve guides and the seats. They'll want grinding in again, but we just want to make sure the guides are okay. We think they're all right. First one out, right hand exhaust, and it's not too bad. Seat's not too bad. I've seen a lot worse than that. Need grinding in a bit, but not really pitted. And also no blow by on the valve guide, and the valve guide feels pretty good. Right, so we'll place all the accoutrements marked up, so we'll put them back in the same way. We'll need to check valve spring lengths, etc. at some point before we reassemble, but we'll crack on with the other three now. Took a bit of braking, the collets did. I don't know whether this head's ever been a part reel or the valves have been out, but anyway, got there in the end. Okay, all the valves out, no problem. Tidied up the remnants of the old gasket, the rocker box base gasket, off the faces as well. It's always interesting that the gasket that's left behind is always on this side, i.e. the side where the head bolts are, which always implies that, quite rightly probably, that there's, you know, greater sort of pressure on it on this side than that. And that's just a feature of the design. It's bound to happen because these aren't torqued up anywhere near as much as that, or shouldn't be anyway. So it's always going to sort of tilt slightly. It must do. Anyway, other things at hand. So this plug came out. It wasn't very tight. It was almost loose, but it came out by hand, so the thread's okay. But that looks to me as though it's been blowing up round the threads a bit. But I'm a bit concerned about the other one. I've undone it a couple of turns and it's tight. It is coming, but I need a spanner to do it. So let me use two hands on this. I'm just hoping that the thread's not been compromised, but we can fix it and get it fixed. But let's get this off and see what it's like. Well, after 2 or 3 turns, it did loosen off and the thread looks fine, but also you'll notice actually it's got an insert in it, look. That's already been repaired, and I hadn't noticed it when I looked on the other side, but it's more apparent now. Also, the insert's been put in slightly skew with. But anyway, the thread's good, whereas this side is fine. And I don't think that's got an insert, but that side most definitely has. All right, okay, we're all set for a first clean. I know it looks filthy, etc., but that's okay. I'll give it a first clean, then we'll clean up the combustion domes, and then we'll give it another clean. Before I do that, I'll just take the rocker covers off and they'll be ready to go in, and we'll just wait for it to warm up. Final observation before we give this lot a bath. The rocker cover, well, they're set screws really, I suppose, rather than bolts, are all stainless steel, but with a mixture of washers or no washers all the way through. So quite how they decided that, I don't know. But anyway, the gaskets have come off okay, cleaned up all right. So we'll just wait for that to finish warming up, nearly up to 40 degrees, not far off now. We'll get them in the bath, and what I normally do is leave them in the bath a little bit to soak, and then I give them 15 minutes with the ultrasonic cleaner, turn them over, give them another 15 minutes, let them soak a bit, and then bring them out. So that's what we'll do. Right, the parts are in the bath. It's up to temperature. They're cooking at the minute. I've just suspended the ultrasonic side of it, because I just wanted to show you something else. I was just looking at the pushrod tubes, and actually they're not a pair, they're different. And also what I thought was a gasket on the top wasn't really, it's just red hematite stroke black silicon, and I don't think there's a gasket on the bottom at all. No, there's nothing in there. So we've got we've identified a few areas where issues might have caused the sort of slight oil leaks, etc. Probably not as bad as they should have been, really. Right, on we go. Right, first cut completed. Had quite a bit of time in the bath with about 3 ultrasonic sessions. Beginning to come up pretty well. Need to do a bit of manual work now. Assembly with the rocker boxes, which should come up a bit better. The reason why I like ultrasonic cleaning rather than blasting or anything like that is because you can't see it very well on here, but you end up with the same sort of sheen on the alley as when the bikes were first produced, and it worked pretty well on the other bikes that I've restored using it. The only thing that I'm not very pleased with are these, but we're going to be polishing those anyway, the rocker covers. Actually, now they're dry, they look a bit better than they did. But anyway, coming on pretty well. So the head needs a bit more work yet. So as I say, we'll be getting the wire wheels and stuff next, because now we've got all the grease and rubbish off it. We'll clean up the combustion domes and also get all this damn black silicon stuff off it. Clean up the exhaust stubs as well. And once we've done that to the best of our ability, I'll be going back in the bath with some fresh fluid, but that was clean. Look at it now, filthy. Right, next clip then, I'll be probably in a few days' time. I'm out for the next couple of days, but probably on the Sunday, and we'll get back onto this, as I say, with some more cleaning up. And also we need to clean up the valves on the wire wheel, which is easy enough, and also check the valve spring lengths. Right, that's the plan. Right, now they've had a good bath. Next up, all the wire wheels and wire brushes and things are out, and we'll get these head cleaned up a little bit more. As you can see, I've started to do what is this, the right hand pot. It's coming out okay, and then once we've done this, we'll give it another bath in clean fluid, and we should be just about there. Rocker boxes have come out really quite well, I think. We'll have to touch these up a little bit once we've got the head steady back on. And the covers don't come out too bad, but we'll give them a light polish, and they should be fine. Right, so it's just down to a bit of elbow grease. Right, here we are back a few days later, to be honest. So we're now on October the 1st, and that's because we've had the Classic Bike Fest show last weekend. But been back on the Silver Jubilee as promised, and cracked on with cleaning up the cylinder head, and that's worked out quite well actually. Pretty pleased with that. So we've been at it with wire brushes and bits and pieces, and cleaned it out pretty well. I have given the exhaust ports a bit of a clean, but not too vigorously. They're going to get sooted up pretty quickly anyway. But the good news is that it's come up pretty well, and the valve seats are in really good condition. And you can actually probably still see the grinding in marks on them as well, but we will give them a light grinding just to seat the valves. The valves are still over there all labelled up, so we'll put the valves back in the same position. But yeah, the head is good. I won't try and turn it over with one hand, but it's come up pretty well. And also, you know, we're getting the sheen back on it, which you'd expect from a sort of new casting. So that's why I like the ultrasonics with them, with a light wire brush. And it really does bring it up pretty well. And we're just about there. We've managed to clean off most of the, well, just about all of the black silicon goo stuff that they liberally applied everywhere to try and seal exhaust pipes and on the push rod tubes as well. I've not cleaned these up because the chrome's gone on these and they're not a matching pair. So they're scrap. And we've got a couple of new old stock ones from Triumph Twin Spares. They're a good reliable supplier. So pleased with that. New old stock stuff, you can't really go wrong as long as, as I say, you know the supplier. And then in other news, I've been finishing off, well, let's go over here first. So apologies for the swinging around, but we'll try and go steadily. Just doing a bit more strip of the rear end because I wasn't happy with this, and the reason being that we've got work to do on the rear brake anyway, changing the cylinder and things like that. And the way the rear brake was mounted at this time in 1977 was a right lash up with plates and brackets all over the place, and it was underslung as well, which made it difficult to get at. And what they did in 78 with the introduction of the T140D Bonneville Special was that the caliper was mounted on the top with a big brake steady arm fixed towards the front here, and it was a lot easier to get at, much simpler. But this, where the cylinder is lashed up behind here, there's a couple of plates, you know, plates on plates and brackets on plates. It's a bit of a, well, it is an afterthought because they had to modify the original design. So with those plates and other bits and pieces, I've now got a second batch of painting to do, which is bigger than the first, but that's okay. We know what we're doing with that. We might have to do it indoors though, because the weather's getting a bit cooler. Now here's the rear brake caliper. I think the caliper's all right, to be honest, but it needs a good clean up. And you can see somebody's decided to paint it a strange colour. So I'm not sure what to do with that yet. I'll ask the owner Greg about that. But you can see from the bracket it's mounted on, here's a lash up bracket. There's another lash up bracket. It's been painted probably either while it's on the bracket or it's been mounted back on the bracket while the paint's wet. Anyway, so lots of bracketry. You might also ask why, you know, I've not been more fastidious in making sure nuts and bolts and things are together with the parts that are intended for, and that is just a mishmash of fittings, you know, metric, non-metric, UNC, spring washers, shake-proof washers, stiff nuts, nylocks, wrong sizes. So we're going to replace all that lot anyways, as best we can. And then finally, just to go back, here's the rocker boxes again, you know, finally finished, and that's the sort of sheen I want, because that's the sort of result you get when they come freshly cast out of the factory, in my opinion. Any other bits that we bought? Oh, there's the rocker box covers. They're coming up pretty well. I'll give them a Solvol polish finally. We've got more fittings in, and that's a set of cylinder base nuts, because that's where we're going to start to focus next before we put the cylinder head on. We need to paint the barrels, and we'll take the cylinder base nuts off first. We'll paint the barrels in situ, but they need a bit of cleaning up first and a bit of degreasing, as does the back end. So that'll be the job for the next video. And the final thing I'll show, let me just get the torch, are the bores. The bores are in a really good shape, and I think you can see that there's evidence of honing. And with respect to the pistons, you can see that the oh, it doesn't focus very well, sorry, that the carbon buildup that's on there is sort of flaking off. So I think these are new pistons rings. I don't know whether it's been rebored or just rehoned, but anyway, the bores are in good nick, and the bike wasn't smoking when it was running. So we think we're okay, and in fact the rings might still be bedding in. But as I say, one of the major things that we did find wrong was that the cylinder head wasn't torqued down properly at all, almost loose, really. And whether that's because it hadn't been re-torqued or it wasn't torqued properly the first time, I suspect the former, because it was terrible. But that's where we're going next. So what shall we do next? We've got, what we'll probably do is we're going to finish it there with this one. But the next one is we'll build up now the cylinder head. We've got to check the free length of the valve springs before we do that. And we'll paint up the barrels and get the cylinder head back on, I think. And then we're on our way with respect to start reassembling. We can then do the front end. I think we've got everything to do the front end, and within a couple of weeks we should have the wheels back. So we're beginning to get there. The thing that I'm a bit concerned about is the rear mudguard is not in as good a condition as I thought it was. So I'll clean all that down and we'll do another inspection of that. I think the chain guard's going to be okay. There's one area here that we need to just touch up, but that's out of view normally anyway, but we will make sure we tidy it up properly. Right. Okay, everyone, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks for your interest, comments and subscriptions. And I'll see you all again soon. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.